50-year mortgages. You guys hear about that? The 50-year mortgages that Trump proposed on Truth Social? Incredible.
Welcome back. So, could a 50-year mortgage option be on the horizon? The Trump administration raising the prospect of such a loan over the weekend. Our Diana Olick joins us now with the story. Diana, so how would this work?
Well, so, Sarah, in an attempt to make home buying more affordable, President Trump floated the idea of...
I guess it's better than renting. No, actually, it's objectively worse than renting. Because unless you're buying this shit at like 25 or something, you will die before or around the time you pay it off. And renting is way easier because you have a landlord who you can, like, bother for stuff. Owning a home is really fucking complicated and expensive. You're responsible for a lot more. There's more costs involved. I think I'm pro rentoid. Like I think everything should just be rentoiding. That's housing decommodification. Rentoid everything for $1 a month. I don't give a fuck. A 50-year mortgage is fucking insane. Absolutely fucking insane.
A 50-year mortgage in social media post. In response, FHFA Director Bill Pulte, who oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, posted that they are, quote, working on...
You can't pay it back earlier if you have the means? Buddy. If you had the means to pay it back earlier, you shouldn't have gotten it in the first place. You have any idea how much more you're going to be paying in the long run because of the 50-year mortgage? Like, for one, even introducing a 50-year mortgage means housing costs are going to skyrocket. Think about it. Why would banks continue... Why would developers sell these houses at the same price if the banks that are loaning you the money to buy it are getting paid back smaller monthly amounts with a higher chance of people defaulting due to death? The banks are going to need either a better payout over the long run because the house price is increased or wouldn't be worth it for them, or they're going to need to scalp you for more off the top, like higher interest, or it takes longer to, you know, like you're paying more off the interest than the principal or whatever. It is going to massively increase the cost of homes.
It, and that it would be, quote, a complete game changer. Now, the purpose of a longer-term mortgage would be to lower the monthly payment for homeowners.
Christ.
The longer the term of the loan, the smaller the principal needed each month to pay it off in full. Now, using the latest...
Because you're paying more interest.
Median sale price of a home from September, that's $415,200, according to the realtors, and the current interest rate of about 6.3%, according to Mortgage News Daily, on a 30-year fixed loan.
I thought you wanted us to commit ourselves to multi-generational infrastructure projects. That's true. That's true. The Egyptians had the pyramids, but we will have the 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom suburban single-family home. God willing, my great-grandchildren might live to see this thing paid off.
With a 20% down payment, the monthly payment of just principal and interest would be $2,056.
You know what PMI is? No, I'm not a homeowner like you, Tempest. If you don't put 20% down on the house, you have to pay a private mortgage insurance, an insurance policy for the lender to get paid if you default. It doesn't benefit you at all. That makes sense because the bank is taking like a considerable risk providing you a 50-year mortgage. But yeah, like the risk where the 50-year mortgages sound like the kind of thing that people would joke about in the lead up to the 2008 financial crisis as a way they could increase the risk of the pot that they were betting on. Like, it sounds like a joke they would have come up with. Like, you know what would make this even riskier? Heh.
$6. If you raise the length to 50 years at the same interest rate, that payment would be $1,823, and that's a savings of $233 per.
Interesting how increasing the length of time that it takes for you to pay off your mortgage by 60%, well, 66%, only decreases the monthly payment by 10%. That's interesting. I wonder how that maths out.
Per month. Homeowners, however, would not build equity as quickly because their principal payments would be smaller, and the amount of interest paid to lenders would be 40% higher. Now, the real question, though, is can Fannie and Freddie do this? Analysts say it is possible, but a 50-year mortgage does not currently meet the definition of a qualified mortgage under the Dodd-Frank Act, which provides investors with a backup from Fannie and Freddie if the loan should go bad. But regulators were given the authority to change that in order to ensure mortgage affordability. That, however, could take up to a year, according to Jarrett Seberg of TD Cowen. Seberg notes that we still just really need more housing because without more home...
Nah, there's no way that could be the solution. You sound like a fucking idiot right now. Houses are too expensive, so build more housing. You sound insane. You sound like a fucking sociopath. Clearly, we just need more financial instruments.
Prices will continue to be inflated no matter what the mortgage rate is. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, which comes back to some of his other, efforts to try to put pressure the home builders to build more. So, do we have any idea, Diana, what the rate would be for a 50-year mortgage, for instance, compared to a 30-year?
That is an excellent question, because mortgage rates really depend on demand from the investors in the product. But what I can tell you is that the average rate currently on the 15-year fixed loan, that is a shorter-term loan, is actually 66 basis points lower than the 30-year fix, which would imply that a 50-year mortgage would carry a larger interest rate in order for investors to be able to get the money they need. But that's...
I'm just learning about loans for the first time, and that doesn't sound right to me. Really?
The question going forward, would it really be cheaper, and would that math that I just did on that monthly payment actually be that if the mortgage rate was higher? It would not be.
Yeah, none of it would make any sense then, if that was the case.
Yep.
Correct. I mean...
They've both been in this job long enough to know exactly what this shit means. Like, they're both fully aware of what all this implies, but they're just they're like, let's not get into it right now.
What really is, some people are saying that a 50-year fix is kind of like an interest-only mortgage, because you're paying so much more interest than you're actually paying equity. And the fact is that most people don't keep their home for 30 years even. Would they keep it for 50? Most likely not.
You're basically renting the house from the bank. Like, your kids are not getting that shit, man. You're going to die. Your mortgage is going to be unpaid. The bank's going to take it back. Like, at least if you were renting the house, your kid could just take over the lease. Now you have to. Now your kid has to consign themselves to some familial bloodline extension of your existing equity line or whatever, or you lose everything. Basically, type shit. The U.S. is bringing back serfdom, it seems. Yeah, I mean, neo-feudalism has kind of been the way things have been going for a while. We have an American aristocracy with the oligarchs. We have basically no rule of law. Yeah, we're kind of getting there. We're basically getting Ancapistan, honestly. We're just getting, like, somehow a stupider version of Ancapistan, but we're getting there. Nobody's inheriting their parents' home anyway. They just sell the house and move into a senior's home where all the money from the sale is siphoned up by healthcare costs. Yeah, literally. Yeah, I don't know. Home ownership was a mistake as a concept. Everyone who eulogizes, or I guess who jerks off over home ownership is either, I'm generalizing here, is either 85 or it does not own a home, but thinks it would be really, really cool if they could, like, I don't know, do some vague renovation project they saw a YouTube short about without having to ask their landlord first. Owning a home's a lot of work. If you live in some environments, I understand if you live, like, outside the city or whatever, there can be some benefits. For lots and lots and lots of people, though, we're kind of running up against the limits with this. We used to own houses 200 years ago. I mean, kind of, a little bit. Like, during feudalism, the serfs didn't own their houses. In a practical sense, they did, but, like, technically everything was owned by the local lord. You know, they just worked on the land they were provided. And then in post-feudal, like, early American colonial, a lot of the home ownership was people homesteading, or you had, you know, people would, like, own little, you know, little houses in town or whatever, or village houses or whatever, and deeds to the land. But it wasn't, I mean, even back then, a lot of people lived in apartments. It really varies. It really varies. Serfs were not that common in Western Europe post-1300. It was mostly free peasants who owned the land. As early as the 1300s, really. I thought that shift over was later. Okay. I think the idea of home ownership was a lot more reasonable, like as a concept, and generational exchange of housing, like from the grandparents, the parents, there are two problems with it. For one, people in America don't live in multi-generational households for the most part, and for two, now anyone can travel anywhere. And jobs shift over all the time. It's not like the 1400s where you, like, oh, you're a farmer, great, your family will get to do that work for 600 years basically. Now it's like the conditions economically, you know, and you might not want to live in the area you live in. We didn't used to have a choice. I don't know. It's complicated type shit. Not to mention, like, in some red states, they're pushing for an end to property taxes, which is basically like the end of civilization, you know? Seriously, that's basically it. I mean, if we get rid of that kind of taxation and elderly people can just sit on wealth and have no incentive to pay it back, that's pretty much it. Yeah, like in Florida. Florida will not survive without those property taxes. They're just doing it for, you know, to continue because it's going to be politically popular for the next decade. Who's supposed to give the taxes? Young people. Getting rid of property taxes is so UK coded, you know? We just need to work our dwindling base of working age people as hard as possible so all their taxes can go towards the obscene ballooning costs of healthcare and housing and everything else for elderly people. Australia has no property tax? My guess is that Australia probably has some other robust tax systems that more or less achieve the same thing. Not to suggest there's not like generational income inequality in Australia, but my guess would be that they have a completely different... In America, property taxes are like the way we siphon wealth from the coffers of boomers who just sit on their properties and do nothing and just eat up space and money and land and contribute nothing. You hear Texas passed a ballot initiative to get rid of all taxes on elderly people. That was a big chunk of the state's budget. They got cooked. Yeah, I guess, like, again, like, nobody... I think the Republicans understand that the big American experiment is pretty much over, and they're just looting the coffers while they can. It's like the private equityification of the country. I believe Australia has some form of land value taxation. That makes sense.